get down to brass tacks, because people go, all right, what were these young kids thinking? We sent them to school and they went like crazy and they love this socialist. Socialism, your great polling today showed, means a little something different than it means to my generation, to these young kids, young voters. Tell us what you found.
Yeah, look, a third of voters say they have a favorable opinion of socialism. It's been that way for a very, very long time. Most of the people who say they like socialism, though, say it has nothing to do with sending more money and power to government. In fact, most of them say we'd like to have less government control of the economy, a little more free market activity. In fact, 71% of the people who say they like socialism, well, they think free markets are the best way to run an economy. It's the meaning of words change. John, you and I are at a point in life, Amanda will get there someday, when the word middle-aged means something than it did 20 years ago. And that's what's happened with socialism. And the message here is, if you're trying to complain about what you think of as socialism, you're not reaching people with that label. You really need to talk a little further.
All right, I want to ask whether the socialist that these young people voted for on Tuesday, is Mamdani going to be that socialist? Is he going to be our more Fidel Castro communist socialist?
Yeah, well, he wants to be the more Fidel Castro communist. One other point about the election, and let's be clear, it was a very good night for the Democrats on Tuesday, but these are low turnout elections. Mamdani won only 1 out of 9 residents of New York City. Only 1 out of 9 people who lived there voted for him. These are low turnout elections. We can't read too much into it. What he wants to do is something different than I think what a lot of those folks voted for. But we'll see. The real way that you control a local government is how people react afterwards. The head of the police department resigned today. He's Jewish. We're going to see how business leaders respond, and we'll see what the city looks like. And it'll break my heart if the city isn't what it is today, because I still believe it's the greatest city in the world.
Well, and Scott, the 2 gubernatorial races that Republicans were eyeing, one was in New Jersey, which is a blue state. I know that it has been trending a little bit redder, but it's still a blue state. And then in Virginia tends to flip-flop back and forth between Republican and Democrat. And this time around, it was due for a Democrat cycle. So was it as dire of a night for Republicans as it seems a lot of people are making it out to be?
No, I don't want to downplay the fact the Democrats had a good night. The margins were bigger in New Jersey than anybody expected, certainly bigger than the polling and the polling averages showed. The numbers in Virginia were less surprising. What we're seeing everywhere at this point in time is Democrats are more fired up. They're more enthusiastic about getting to the polls. And that's what happens when Republicans control the White House. The party that's out of power always has more energy. In fact, our latest generic ballot polling showed the Republicans up by a point just among all registered voters. But once we put in the filter for their enthusiasm, the Democrats had a 3-point advantage. That's what we saw on Tuesday night. I don't think it changes anything about the midterms, because the answer is what James Carville said all those years ago. It's the economy, stupid. If the economy is doing well next year, if people perceive it's doing well, then the Republicans will be in better shape.